Ñawescan Oswaguego. Just going to make a quick video here about asking yes-no questions in Seneca. So I have a couple examples up here right away, right? So you have, are you hungry? Are you ready? And are you done eating? So if you're already studying language or you already use it with your kids or whoever you speak with, you can think about that, how you would ask that as a question. Are you hungry? Are you ready? Are you done eating? How you would ask those in Seneca. So there's a way to do it, and just some things I noticed over time that I didn't notice earlier on in my learning. So one of the things about Seneca is that we lost the question particle along the way through the changes that happened to our languages. So if you go into some of the other languages, well, actually all the other ones except for Seneca, they have a yes-no question particle. So in Cayuga, they have ge. So if you ask like these same questions, right, with ge, Oneida has gun, and Mohawk also has gun, but that's how they spell it. So if it was like, are you hungry? I know in Oneida, it's a different, kind of a different sound. Sadon galyaks. Sadon galyaks gun. That's like, are you hungry? If we had the ge, like Cayuga, it'd probably be something like Sadoswe dani ge. Are you ready? It'd be Sade saon ge. And are you done eating would be Sakwen daon ge. Or Sakwen daon gun if we used gun instead of ge. So they have that particle that they can use to indicate if it's a yes-no question, whereas Seneca doesn't have it. So back when I was earlier in my learning and I wasn't sure how to do it, anytime I was learning how to do a yes-no question, it was kind of said to do it like Ron Burgundy. If you've seen Anchorman at the end when they put that question mark at the end of his teleprompter, right? His voice goes high at the end. And that's what we would do. So I would ask these questions the same way I would ask in English. So in English, I say, are you hungry? And I would say, Sadoswe Dani. Are you ready? Sade Saon. Are you done eating? Sa Daon. So I would ask them that way. And maybe you did too when you thought about how to do that. But after listening to how people did it in the other languages, it got me thinking. And then what really got me going was when I came across these right here, where in the grammar book he talks about yes-no questions and how we don't have the ge. But also he distinguishes the difference between a statement and a yes-no question. So the first one he's doing is wa onjas han. Wa onjas han. She laid down. Wa onjas han. But then he shows how the sound pattern is different if you ask it as a yes-no question. So wa onjas han. Wa onjas han. He gives that example. The second example he gives is to lose it. So esa don't. Esa don't. So when you do that, he goes over here, right? So he has it. Esa don't. You lost it. And then the other one, it still has that rising tone on the sa, but it has a little, you can see the end on the second one is different. Even the way it goes down. Esa don't. Esa don't. So it's different. Like you can see the sound wave is different for a statement versus a question. So I'm going to play a few examples of some yes-no questions. So the first one is going to be, are you finished eating? So we did have that on the list, right? So
Sequendo. Are you finished eating? Sequendo. Are you finished eating?
So we'll do this other one. And you're just listening to the way she says it, you know, the Seneca part. Because in the English, she says it, are you finished eating? Which kind of tails up at the end. But she says, ça cuenta. So this one here, are you full?
Softo. Are you full? Softo. Are you full?
So it's easy to get hung up on her English. Ça and then she says, are you full? So you might say ça but that's not what she says. She says ça. Are you hungry?
Are you hungry? So sweet, Donnie. Are you hungry?
Sweet, Donnie. Sweet, Donnie. And here's another speaker saying the same one.
Are you hungry? Sweet, Donnie. Sweet, Donnie. Are you hungry?
Sweet, Donnie. Instead of sweet, Donnie. Sweet, Donnie. This one, are you sleepy or are you not sleepy? She first asks it as a yes/no question, and then she says it as a statement.
Det senda was, are you not sleepy? Det senda was, you are not sleepy. Det senda, you are not sleepy. Det senda was. Det senda was, are you not sleepy?
Det senda was. Det senda was. And then she says, det senda was. Some people can hear the difference and some people can't. That's a part of developing your ear as you go along. Here's one for, are you sick?
Tani. Sanong tani. Sanong tani. Sanong tani. Are you sick? Sanong tani.
So we have that, are you sick? I think I have one. Here it is. So sanonk dani. She's asking, are you sick? Sanonk dani. So she doesn't say sanonk dani. She says sanonk dani. Here it is as a statement, just saying you're sick.
Sanong tani.
You are sick.
Sanong tani.
So it's slightly different. It changes that, like the tone goes on the second syllable still. On the question, sanonk dani. And then on a statement, sanonk dani. It's a little bit different. For a baby, are you wet?
Desango, are you wet? Desango, desango, are you wet? Desango.
Can I have a ride? Do you need a ride?
Ogwenyo e wonge se. Right? That's a yes/no question. Ogwenyo e wonge se. There's a tone to that. Asking if it's broke in relation to, I think, a bone. If you broke a bone.
It broke?
Deojago. Deojago.
Is it broke?
Deojago.
So I just went through and isolated quite a few yes no questions for you to try to hear the difference between how they ask it in Seneca and how they ask it in English. Here's do you feel well? So you have the adongwe ta, sadongwe ta, but it's a yes no question.
You feel well?
Sadongwe ta. Sadongwe ta.
You feel well?
Sadongwe ta.
Sadongwe ta. To a baby, do you have messy pants?
Sani dondaho. Do you have messy pants? Sani dondaho. Sani dondaho. Do you have messy pants? Sani dondaho.
Do you see it? So say again, like see it regularly.
Seneca, do you see it habitually? Do you see it? Seneca, yega, Seneca.
Say again. Say again. That's how she's asking in the yes no tone. Do you smell it? It gets cut off. The beginning of this one gets cut off, but she says it on the second round there.
Smell it. Ça sent en soi. Go sent en soi. Do you smell it? Ça sent en soi. Go.
Ça sent en soi. Ça sent en soi. Do you smell it? Is this yours?
Isna sawe. Is this yours? Isna sawe. Then I
Isne sawe. Isne sawe. So it does take like a change in your head to learn how to change. I had to change it once I was aware of what was going on. We do have, so again, like it's not just what you would say, but how you would say it. And this is part of your progression as a language speaker, as a language learner, because like I said, I overlooked it a lot when I was learning. So we have first language interference that happens at times. We're first language English speakers. So the intonations we use in English are going to overlap our second language, which for all of us is Seneca. So the English is going to dominate the Seneca as far as intonations, and that's what's going on. And then you're trying to get actual Seneca tones when you ask questions and when you speak. But it's normal to have that first language intonations overlapping. And you'll hear that like when people speak, like if they're first language Mandarin speakers, their English will be very tonal. Anybody like from the Middle East, if their first language is somewhere in one of those regions, it's going to affect the way they speak their English. So even Italians, the way Italians speak Italian overlaps the way they speak their English. That's why Italians have that lively way of speaking. So let's go to another one here. We did It's Yours. We did this. All right, here's this one here. First thing she does is she says you work as a statement. But then when he translates it, he says it as a statement and then he follows up by asking it as a yes-no question in English. So when she says it the second time, she says it as a yes-no question. So if you can hear the difference between the way she says it the first time and the way she says it the second time.
Work. Do you work? Sacho ajiha. Sacho das. You work. Do you work? Sacho das. Ajiha. Sacho das. You work. Do you work? Sacho das.
So the first one she says Sajo das. And then she says the second one, Sajo das, as a yes-no question because he made it into a, and then here's your sleepy. So we did sendat was, it's in there. So if you want to ask, are you sleepy? Sendat was. But here's how she says it just as a statement.
Sandat was. Sandat was. You are sleepy. Sandat was.
So you have ways of speaking it, and like I said, your English will overlap your Seneca, and the language is going to change over time. It has changed over time, but if you're a teacher, if you're a learner, if you plan on passing down the language to other people, that's one of the things you can do for yourself. I know because I hear a lot of people ask in an English tone, just the same way I used to ask in an English tone. And once I started noticing that yes, no tone, I started fixing it in my head. And it takes time. It really does take time. You have to mentally make yourself do it. Sometimes I have to repeat myself, ask the question twice, so that I say it with a proper tone. But I see it happening even in the other languages where, like that one, Sado Galyaks Gan, are you hungry? People will say it with an English tone. They say Sado Galyaks Gan. They'll ask it with an English tone. So therein too, like if you can learn it yourself and make it a standard in the way that you ask questions. If you're teaching kids, that's just the way they'll learn how to ask yes, no questions in Seneca. You won't have to make any notes to them or anything. And if you're teaching your students too, like teaching your students and pointing out to them as they're learning that there's a different tone when you ask questions in Seneca as opposed to when you ask questions in English, you can get them on the right track right away instead of having them switch from their English tones. But in order to do that, you have to do it yourself too. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to teach it and hard to model it and hard to provide it as input. So I encourage any of you who are teaching and learning, yes, no questions are a lot of the beginner stuff. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of your interactions with your kids is a lot of yes, no questions, commands, and negative commands. So it would be good to take notice of these things, use it for your own learning, and just try to preserve the way our the speakers that came before us, the way they ask yes, no questions. So I hope that's helpful. I'll cut it off here, and you guys all have a good one.